Welcome to episode 2 of Mortgages Uncensored, brought to you by Clover Mortgage. And today's episode is sponsored by Extend Financial. Joining us today is Rafael Alter, CEO and founder of Extend Financial. And Rushi Parekh is back, one of our top mortgage agents here at Clover Mortgage. Today's episode is going to get really interesting. It's a little bit different. It's not fully focused on mortgages. Yes, Rafael Alter is currently the owner of Extend Financial, but he's also a very experienced and brilliant entrepreneur from Toronto, having a career in the digital marketing space and tech world for nearly 20 years prior to entering the mortgage space. So we're going to learn a lot about Rafael's background, his history. We're going to learn a lot about scaling businesses and what brings someone from an exciting career in entrepreneurship in the digital marketing space to the private lending space. So we're going to go deep. We're going to learn more about Rafael and go from there. So Rafael, most people today know you as the CEO of Extend Financial, a private lending company, one of the largest and fastest growing ones in Canada. But 20 years ago, that wasn't the story. What would someone that knew you 20 years ago expect your trajectory to be today?
That's a great question. This might be a little bit funny, but somebody once told me that you're either going to be in jail or very successful. And
You've never been to jail?
I've never been to jail. So obviously plan B worked out. I did get a job out of school. I actually scaled a career quite quickly within the first year of being out of school. I started with a IT job, then a senior IT job, then a director IT job, all in a year. I bounced around a few times.
Wow.
And I was married, I had a baby, and I had a mortgage and a car payment. And no matter what, even though I made 100 grand a year on paper, it wasn't enough to actually live the life that I wanted to live. Everybody in my family is self-employed. And I realized that I'm trading hours for dollars. And no matter how much of a raise I get or how I get promoted, I won't really live the life I wanted. So I needed to do something. Wasn't sure what. So I eventually, when I couldn't figure out something to do because life was very comfortable at my job, I actually quit and came home, and my parents lost their minds because I have payments and they thought they have to support me. And sat in my basement with the gun to my head to have to figure it out because mortgage payment is due and car payment is due and baby to feed.
So you quit without any plan?
Yes.
With a wife and a kid, wow.
Because when I was working, trying to come up with a plan, didn't really have any pressure. So I came home, had enough money to go out, had enough money to pay the bills, and everything I found had some issue with it. So I was like, I'll find something else. And I actually didn't. And until I forced myself to pick a horse, I wasn't going to get out of that race. So I quit and I came home and I got a lot of backlash from family, but it was the right move in the end.
Good for you. I can imagine that was a tough decision to make, but...
It wasn't a tough decision. It was tough the repercussions of the decision at home. But I knew it was the right move, like going in. I actually tried to take a leave of absence. They failed to agree to give me one, so I quit.
Wow, that's quite the start.
Yeah.
And then you got into the digital marketing space. In 2004, you launched your first company, CX Digital, and you grew that. And then you launched subsequent companies, EQ Advertising, Avenlo. Tell us about that path.
So I actually had 2 other businesses prior to that, but they were kind of a parlay into online advertising because first business was, do you remember older cars had halogen headlights?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden BMW started coming with blue lights, like the xenon lights, but they weren't available.
All the kids wanted them.
You're right. They weren't available for everyday cars because you either have them or don't. And they use a different technology. It's not just a regular 12 volt light bulb. It's a capacitor and it's like 75,000 volts and so on and so forth. So I saw that there was a problem that needed solving and there was an opportunity. So every business that you want to get into, whether it's mortgage origination or administration or lending or whatever, you need to be solving some sort of problem because otherwise it's great that you want to do something like everybody else, but unless you solve a specific problem, you're not going to be successful. Mm-hmm. If you solve a problem, then the money will follow. So I figured, okay, everybody wants these lights, but they can't have them unless they change their cars. Figured out that they're made by Bosch and Philips in the UK, and I found a supplier, but they sold raw bulbs, and those bulbs wouldn't fit in the car. But cars have 3 or 4 different types of fittings, H1, H4, H7, and so on and so forth. They're pretty standard. And they determine based on the clips and also the focal length of the bulb. So I bought a bunch of raw xenon bulbs and capacitors.
From Bosch.
From Bosch.
Wow.
And then I bought a bunch of bulbs from Canadian Tire. And in my basement, I started dremeling them to fit. And I glued them together and I put them in my dad's car. And I'm like, oh, xenon lights. So I built a website and I put them for sale for 5 times what it cost me. And lo and behold, people started buying them.
And this was like the heyday of the internet, where before
Yes.
it became very mainstream.
Correct. All of a sudden, I was in my basement dremeling.
You became an electric engineer.
Sort of, right? I don't know how safe it was. The good thing was I wasn't actually opening up the housings. I wasn't doing anything. I was just basically gluing on a clip so it would hold in place. How long it would hold in place, I don't know. But anyway.
So you didn't sell them warranties.
Well, the point was the business was growing and I wanted to do something different, but it was still making some money. So a friend of mine who wanted to work for me said, I really love this business. I said, how about I sell it to you? Till this day, he's still doing it.
Wow.
Now, obviously it morphed. Right now he buys them ready-made from China and he sells all kinds of accessories and he kind of went down this path of growing it into an industry. But he does it and good for him, but I knew that it was just a stopgap or a stepping stone for me.
Okay.
So made a little bit of money, still at home, don't know what to do with myself. Right? Still have the payments, still the baby, still have the mortgage. And I thought to myself, something online. What exactly? I wasn't a marketer. I wasn't a super technologist. I knew how technology works, but I wasn't an expert in anything. Mm-hmm. And I saw people selling stuff on eBay, lots of stuff. And I wasn't sure how and why they're making money, but I saw lots of things being sold. So, and I started seeing a theme that everything that's being sold is available at Best Buy or Future Shop. I'm like, where are they getting this stuff? So I found out from Best Buy and Future Shop that they sold everything that caught back in return because the return policies are very liberal.
Oh, interesting.
They take it back. They have a no question policy, Costco, whatever. They basically send it to a company called Genco in the States. It's a refurbisher.
Okay.
So they sell it to Genco and they give you back your money and you go on your merry way. But Genco consolidates all this stuff and sells it to recover. And they sell it at 8 cents, 10 cents on the dollar for retail.
Wow.
So I thought to myself, wait a minute. If I can buy this stuff for 8, 10 cents, fine, there's some logistical costs. And then, of course, you need infrastructure to sell at volume, at scale. But there's a business here.
Of course.
So made a deal with them and I bought my first order. Now, I didn't realize what I was buying because they sent me a manifest of $300,000 worth of merchandise. But at 8 cents on that, it was 24 grand.
Right.
So I ordered it and it showed up at my house in a tractor trailer. And I'm living in a townhouse and a rig shows up and the guy's like, where am I dumping it? I said, I don't know. I didn't have room.
What was your wife's reaction to that?
She was a little oblivious. She was in her own world being a parent and wasn't really involved. As long as everything worked out in the end, she was supportive.
Okay, good.
But I paid the driver a few $1,000s, said, I need a week. Drive around, go find a place to put it. I'll give you a new address in a week. And in that week, I went and I rented a warehouse in Markham.
Wow.
And I bought a used forklift because 53 foot container, it was all pallets, right?
Wow.
And within a week, I was mobilized. I put an ad in Kijiji for employees. I got Russian guys that were new to the country that had skills technically, but needed work. And all of a sudden, I'm in business, right? And
this was what? This was 2019?
2003.
2003. Okay.
3-ish, 2, 3.
So
and
before CS Media.
Yeah. And so we started listing this stuff and I realized that there was a common theme that other people were doing. So I decided to I'll tell you one thing about me. I will never invent Coca-Cola, but I'll make you the best Pepsi you'll ever have, right? Because I always believe that if someone's doing a great job, I'm not going to try to catch lightning in a bottle and invent some new flying car or whatever, but I'll make you a great car if I know there's a market for cars. So anyway, so I saw that someone was doing this and it was working. So what we did was we listed everything for $3.99. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a television, it could be a cable, it could be a battery cover, irrelevant. And
A sample sale, a giant sample sale.
yeah, but you
For
don't
stuff.
actually touch the stuff. Like you just see a listing. So we made a really nice template, and we listed everything for sale. And again, we needed an inventory management system. So there was a bunch of companies that offered solutions, but I realized that they were all local and they're all similar to me, and I didn't want to have too much visibility or have them to have too much visibility into my business. So I found a company in California that offered a solution, and it was called Ondelay, and I licensed them. But Ondelay didn't have inventory management and so on and so forth. So I ended up getting barcode readers.
Yeah.
I programmed them to talk to Ondelay through the database, and all of a sudden, everything got a barcode. And we put them on shelves, and we listed every item. Doesn't matter if it's working, not working. The mandate was you have 5 minutes to try to fix it. If you can make it work, great. If you can't, move on. Everything was listed with a 5 out of 5 rating for appearance and a 5 out of 5 rating for functionality. So a 1-1 was broken, complete garbage that's unrecognizable. 5-5 is brand new, works great, looks amazing, so on. And there's the scale.
That's awesome.
Right? So everything went for sale. And I learned very quickly that people were winning it at $3, $4, $5. There wasn't big numbers coming in, but we were doing 500 items a day.
So
Right? And the money was made on the shipping because we were charging UPS posted rates, but UPS gave us 40% off. So we were charging $10 for shipping, but it was costing us $6, right? And then when somebody wanted 2 things, we did a little bit of marketing. We said, okay, you know what? It's $20, but we'll give you 20% off shipping if you buy 2 items. So all of a sudden 20, knock off. Adding that extra item into the box was 10 cents on the shipping, so $6.10. So we still made a lot of money on it.
you were selling products, but profiting really
On the shipping. Only.
Wow.
Yeah. And then we started to really scale, right? So we got really good at it. People wanted to come pick up locally. And then I realized our margin's going to go away. So we charged a local pickup fee of $5. And on Wednesdays and Saturdays, I had lineups around the corner. And then slowly the word started getting out what we were doing. And I noticed that merchandise started going up in price. It wasn't 8 cents on the dollar anymore. It was 9 cents, 10 cents, 12 cents. And the bid prices were coming down also because it was getting margin compression on both sides.
Right.
So I saw the writing on the wall. I didn't really want to work in a warehouse. And even though it was a great way to build a little bit of capital and to kind of move on to something else, I realized that my days are numbered. And by the grace of God, one of my clients that loved everything, was just there buying stuff all the time. I want to get in the business. I want to buy it. I'm like, yeah, I'll make you a deal.
And is he still doing it?
No, 3 months later, he was closed because it became a boys' club.
Right.
And when people realized I was out, I don't know what they did in terms of pricing, but he just wasn't able to run it. I sold it to him for no markup, just inventory cost.
Okay.
So I got paid back on my inventory. I got to walk away.
And you made your profit over.
I made a profit while I was doing it for about a year, and I got a good kind of base to get into something else.
For you.
So then I was back at home,
Okay.
and I had a little bit more money in the bank, but still no opportunities. And I didn't know what to do with myself, so I kept thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. And that's when CX Digital was born.
Wow.
And again, complete luck. You never know who you're going to meet in life. I believe that people are put in your path for a reason, and opportunities are everywhere. You can open the door, or you can keep driving and not bother. So I went to Blockbuster Video, if anyone remembers what that is, on Center Street in Thornhill.
I remember that location. We used to rent every Friday with the family.
So I was there with my wife, walking around, choosing which video to watch, because that was the day before Netflix and so on. And then I meet this girl that I know from the gym. And she's like, oh, hi, how are you? And she's walking around, this is my husband, Jeff. And I'm like, oh, nice to meet you, right? And typical conversation, what do you do, what do you do? And he's like, oh, I work for a company, I'm a VP. Remember, we're in 20s, early 20s, and he's a VP. I had a very short
Back
stint.
then, titles meant something.
Yeah, and I had a short stint in the corporate world, and I was making 100 grand as an associate director of IT, and this guy's a VP.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, okay, interesting, because young guy, was younger than me at the time, and somehow or another they rented the same movie as us.
Okay.
And they're like, oh, where do you guys live? And oh, you live. Oh, why don't we just come over and watch with you? So they came over and watched the movie, but typical conversations are when you meet people, what do you do for a living? And you start digging. And I'm an opportunity-aholic. So I always want to know everything. And I always try to unpack and figure things out. And he tells me that I work for a company and there's about 30 of us already. I said, oh, wow, okay. And he said, we're in online advertising, but we don't really sell anything. I said, okay. I said, well, what about this stuff? Oh, we don't really make the stuff that we sell, and we don't really, we don't have the stuff. We're just in the middle. I said, what do you mean? And he kept trying to explain it, but he was being a little bit coy because he wasn't fully explaining it. And I said, if you don't mind me asking, you're a VP. How much do you make? He says, 175. I said, how old's your boss? He said, 21. I said, your boss is 21? And he can afford to pay you and 30 other people? I said, there's something here. We need to know more.
Yep.
So we didn't watch the movie. The next couple of days I got together with him. And I kept asking him, tell me more about this. He kept telling me and telling me. And I said to him, I said, with all due respect, it doesn't sound like rocket science. And there's always room for another entrant. And in business, it's always challenging to build momentum, right? So imagine you have the Titanic and you're trying to push it. If you push it really hard, it doesn't really go anywhere. But once it's moving, a little bit of push, it continues to move because getting it going is the challenge. And ultimately what his business was an affiliate network.
And that was huge back in the mid-2000s.
Right, which I didn't know anything about.
What's affiliate network? What is that?
So imagine you're Netflix, right? And your model is getting new customers because you know that every customer that you get pays you $20 a month and the customer's lifetime value or average revenue per user is, I don't know, $700. So you're willing to spend $200, $300 per customer to get more customers because it builds your valuation, it builds your scale, economies of scale, and so on and so forth. You can even borrow money from the bank to acquire customers.
Oh.
So what happens is they hire agencies and they say, look, let's run a campaign. I'll pay you every time a new customer signs up. You're getting branding out of it because your name is out there, but ultimately you're paying on a customer CPA basis, cost per acquisition basis.
It's like online brokering. They're paying every
For
time.
results.
Yeah, for results. You're
Right.
paying to market somebody else's product. If your marketing works and people start buying, you're making commission off that. You don't have to move the product. You don't have to do anything. You're literally a marketing engine. It's brokering. You're brokering a deal without getting your hands dirty.
Very interesting.
Right. So what
It's a
happens?
huge thing.
So somebody like Netflix would call their McCann or whatever, one of the big agencies, and say, look, we're going to write a multi-billion-dollar campaign with you, multi-million-dollar campaign, and the goal is we need customers. So they pay them, let's say, $150 a customer. They would call other brokers, and potentially brokers of brokers of brokers, sounds similar to this business,
Yep.
right? and say, I'll pay you $75 a sale or a lead or whatever it might be. And ultimately, they want customers. That's all they care about, right? So we were in that company that I was emulating was in the business of being a broker. So they knew a lot of affiliates. Affiliates could be email marketers, could be social media experts, pay-per-click experts at the time, bloggers, newsletter
Websites
guys.
with high traffic.
Yeah,
things like that.
review sites for movies, right? They would put their banner there, and if somebody would click through and sign up to Netflix, it would go through a tracking system, and the agency would know that this broker and this broker and this broker generate that lead, and then the payments go through,
Oh, wow.
right?
The big thing at the time, I remember, was like supplements, acai berry,
Yes.
weight loss supplements. Everyone was saying, as seen on Oprah, as seen on this. Oprah Winfrey launched a lawsuit, I believe, at one point, against all these affiliate marketing companies because her name was being used. She never even spoke of the product.
Yeah.
It was a whole. It was interesting.
It's a bit of a wild west. It's
very cool.
better now, but there was kind of like you can advertise and say whatever you want in theory until regulation comes in and says no, you can't, and so on. Just like with mortgaging, if you want to advertise, you have to put your license number. I'm sure go back 10 years there was no such thing,
Yeah.
right? So the industry evolves and so on. But ultimately, this company that I wanted to emulate and get inspired by was a broker. They had a list of agents that knew how to drive traffic. They had a list of advertisers willing to pay. And all they were doing is in the middle, acting as a clearinghouse, tracking and payments. And then also relationship management and parties and incentives and business, right? So I told Jeff, I said, why don't we just do this? You know everybody in the space. Like, they can't stop you from leaving and starting your own business because it's precluding you from your livelihood. There's no non-compete that will stand up. And let's do this. So he said, okay, fine. And then he said no. And then he said, okay, fine. He said no. And he did it like probably over a 2-month period, 10 times. Kept chickening out and so on and so forth.
Because he was leaving the golden handcuffs. He was making 170K at 20-something years old back
Right.
in
Yeah.
2000.
And he didn't believe, right? He didn't believe in himself, didn't believe in me, didn't believe in the opportunity. Just there's a certain level of, I guess, you have to be able to take risk, right? You have to be able to take educated risk. And you have to feel confident that it'll work out one way or another.
You have to have the balls. The ball's in faith.
It's you know what it is? I'll tell you this much. My parents are immigrants. They came here with nothing. They went through 2 immigrations, and they were very, very conservative in the way that they saved their money. So they made some money, they buy property, they pay it off, they buy another property. They don't leverage, they don't scale to 20, 30 properties. They're very, very like
My
this.
family was very similar. Very
Right? Because they want to sleep at
risk-averse.
night, and the risk of losing it all is
They came here, they had to survive so that we can now flourish.
right. But with that, whenever I screwed up when I was younger, my parents bailed me out. Now it was costly, but they bailed me out, right? So I guess my parents instilled in me indirectly, I guess, this feeling that I can jump off the diving board and there's no water in the pool, but I know that when I get down there, one way or another, it'll be full of water.
Yeah.
And having that confidence gives you the ability to make decisions quick, seize opportunities quick, and really anybody can do anything. It's execution is what matters, right? It's like there's opportunities everywhere. I turn things down all the time, and I'm sure everyone does, but once you decide to do something, you have to actually execute. So anyway, long story short, I worked with Jeff, extracting information, working on a back-end platform, blah, 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 and then eventually he bailed. And he was very paranoid that I was going to tell his boss and he was going to lose his job and whatever else, but I never did.
Instead, you continued and made a lot of money.
I continued it, and because I ran out of my own money, I hired a company to build my platform. And then eventually I ran out of money to pay them, so I became partners with them.
Okay.
And then
It's a good way of doing it.
yeah, and then a year and a half after, what's it called? A year and a half after we became partners, somebody called us and said, "Hey, I saw you at a trade show. We want to buy your company."
Wow.
I said, "Oh, okay." I
Yeah.
wasn't sure who it was. They're like, "Who's your M&A guy?" And at the time, I thought to myself, "I'll get back to you." I didn't know what M&A was.
I thought it was a competitor to M&M's.
Maybe, right? So I wasn't sure. So I right away, and they asked me, "Do you have a deck?" I'm like, "In my backyard." Right? So anyway, we hired.
You were how old at this point?
I had 20s. Like, you know what? Let's say late 20s.
Okay. So you were green. You were green in the
Yeah. So we hired a CFO out of Boston. And this guy came in and he gave us this crazy PowerPoint. This is not Claude that could be done in 5 minutes now. This was back then. And for me, it was Greek, right? And
it cost you an arm and a leg, both time and money back then. You had to
yes, so
invest a
it
lot
was
into
$60,000, $70,000, right?
Yeah.
Now remember, our business at the time was about $3 million in revenue.
Okay.
Wow.
We were making about 20% margin,
Okay. It's not bad. Were in
but we had
business
no
in a
money.
year.
Between expenses and one of the reasons we had a competitive advantage is we were factoring our receivables.
Very interesting.
What I mean by that is agencies would pay us 90 days. Affiliates, one of the advantages was I'll pay you twice a month. So all of a sudden they're like, oh, we get money now so they can reinvest in more pay-per-clicks and go. So we had these big receivables, but we'd have no money in the account. And the
Right.
biggest lie was the checks in the mail. Right? Like, it's like, where's my payment? Oh yeah, we mailed it. Oh, it came back. I'm sorry, let's issue a new one. Because we were just strapped.
You had to buy time.
Had to buy time. We never cheated anybody. We paid and paid and paid, but we really constrained, right? And all of a sudden, this company wants to buy us. So we spend all this time preparing for sale. They fly in on their jet.
Really?
Yeah, they came in. And what they were doing is they were selling memberships to different kind of clubs. And they were looking for a distribution vehicle to be able to sell their stuff.
And these are the things that you would click on. You'd buy a T-shirt, and you wouldn't read the fine print. And every month they're charging your credit card for a book or something. Or
Yeah,
a
some
newsletter.
continuity program.
And
Right.
that took a while until people started catching on.
Right.
That used to be a big thing.
Huge.
Killing on it.
I have a story about a
We used to
continuity
do
program.
something like that in a marketing agency I was a part of at the time. Yeah.
So anyway, when you're excited about selling your business, you kind of lose your focus on the actual business, right? So we were doing this for a while, and then during the sale, we were doing this, and then while the sale was dragging, we started to do this, and they came in and they loved us, and we told them we wanted a certain amount of money for the company, and they looked at us, they're like, we wanted 5 times revenue,
Yeah.
right? And they're like, it's ambitious. I said, yeah, but we're just getting started. You see what we've done in a year and a half and so on and so forth.
But now they see the trajectory going.
Well, they weren't even looking at that. I was. Like, there was a smoke and mirrors. We weren't going. We didn't get to due diligence. Right. Basically, they told me we're too small.
Okay.
Yeah.
They said, look, we need a company a little bit bigger than you. If you were doing this for a few years, maybe we love you, but. So they went to Vancouver. They bought another company called Never Blue, and they bought them. And I don't know what ever happened with it. So it was a bit of a disappointment, and hoopla was over, and we get back to work. Then one of my partners calls me and goes, I have another guy who wants to buy the business. I said, I'm not interested. He said, no, seriously. I said, not interested. I don't want to, like, we have things to do. We're like, we got to get the ship back on.
Because it's a huge diversion.
Yeah.
I've been in that position.
It's a distraction.
And yeah, you lose, I guess, as you become more seasoned as an entrepreneur, you realize you don't forget and lose focus on what's important for that shiny star.
Right.
Look at that shiny star.
It's
but
very easy
this
to
is your
chase the shiny
focus.
object.
Yeah. This
So-
is the focus.
So he calls me, he says, listen, he wants to come meet you. I said, okay, tell him to come, but I'm not preparing for this meeting at all. Okay, so he comes in and he goes, do you have a deck? I said, yeah, hold on a second. I pulled out the presentation from the old guy. I took a Sharpie and I crossed their name up and I said, here you go. And he looks at me and goes, are you serious? I said, we're not for sale. And he says, well, why
Which
are
made him want you to buy you even more.
He said, well, why are we having the meeting? I said, that's a great question. I don't know, but I'm kind of busy and we have some big plans. And so like, I'm taking it out of respect for my partner because he says that blah, blah, blah. But honestly, we have things to do. So chew it over and have a nice life.
Right.
So their story was that they were a professional services success story in Canada during the dot-com bubble.
Wow.
Company went from 30 cents to $30 during the 2000s.
Wow.
The stocks went nuts. They went back to 30 cents.
Yeah.
Like very quickly. But during the ramp up, they had 400 employees. They had office downtown Toronto where the theater was, like the Cineplex on Richmond. That was their office.
Wow.
And it was just crazy. And they were building websites, but charging $100,000 a website and so on and so forth. Well, after the bubble burst, all those jobs went to India.
Right.
The websites became $5,000, not $400,000. And they had a public vehicle, $3-4 million in the bank, and no business model.
So they needed to
Buy something that they could.
that they could grow and keep selling their shares.
Correct. We didn't know this at the time.
Got it.
Right?
It's an
So,
interesting conundrum.
so they call me back and they're like, okay, we want to buy you. I said, well, the price is $15 million. They're like, but you're making like $600,000 a year. Gross. I said,
Of the ambition.
that's today.
Right.
Come back in 6 months. And he's like, okay, I'll make you a deal. And this was negotiated, right? We have $4 million in the account. We'll give you 3 of it. Or 3.5, I believe. It was 3.5. And the other 11.5, we'll let you earn over 2 years.
In cash or in shares?
Cash and shares, right?
What do you mean earn over 2 years?
So it's called an earn-out.
Goals. I said goals. If you get those goals, you get this much money.
So the idea is when somebody buys a company, and if anyone's in the market of buying businesses, nobody wants to just buy the horse. They want to buy the jockey also, right? Because the horse, if jockey leaves, the horse might not run.
Yep.
So they want to have you vested, right?
Okay.
So the idea is that,
They're buying you for a period of time.
yes, right? So we had to stay for 2 years.
Okay.
And the incentive was that if we hit revenue targets and we hit EBITDA targets, which are profits, then we get payouts. Every quarter we get a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And they set us a target of $50 million for 2 years of revenue,
Wow.
right?
Aggressive from 600,000. Yeah.
Well, no, that's profit. We had $3 million at the time when they set this target. And then we had earnings targets. So half the money was revenue, half the money was earnings.
Got it.
And we were successful enough in negotiating a deal that we put in language in there that, yes, they're in charge, they own the company, but there's no material changes. Which means that tomorrow they can't say you can't pay commissions anymore, or we're going into a new line of business, or...
They can't dictate the way you operate.
Yeah, we can continue operating. Yes, I've got a boss, but it's a different, what's it called? It's we can still be us.
It's a different dynamic.
Right. Well, guess what happened? We closed. Of course, my partners and I went to Vegas. We wired I think at the time, $30,000 each to the cage, and we went and we had fun for a weekend. And then we came back and we got to work. Now, the difference was now all of us are millionaires. There's 3 of us, right? We have no real debt. No, it's all my house was $250 at the time.
Right.
So it was right? So, or 400 or whatever it was. So all of a sudden we don't have the pressures, and we don't have to decide, should I hire more salespeople? Should I not? Because we already got paid. The rest was just gravy if it happens. So we went and started recruiting from the company where Jeff worked,
Wow.
right?
Full circle.
Full circle.
Because you already knew they knew their stuff.
They were bigger than us 20 times.
anyone you recruit from there is bringing a wealth of knowledge.
And
Bringing
they're
a
in
book of
Toronto, and there
business.
wasn't that many Toronto
Right, at the
networks.
time.
Everyone's in the States, right?
Yeah.
Because we had no Canadian clients. It was all American business.
Okay.
And at the time, we're making US dollars too, which
And
is
that's
great.
who paid. American companies.
Correct. Anyway, so we started recruiting, and all of a sudden they came with Rolodexes and relationships. And things started to go like this, right? And we put in a very aggressive commission structure for the salespeople. And they were coming to work in flip-flops, right? And selling. And they had assistants, and the CEO was losing his mind because we had salespeople making 100 grand a month.
What? Wow.
Right? Because of commission. And he was like, he's the CEO of a public company making 300, and the sales guys are making crazy money, but he couldn't do anything about it. Needless to say,
And why would he want to? It was profiting the business at the time.
because he's like, we're successful because of the company, not because of the people. It was a fatal mistake because
Old school mentality.
he was an accountant, great businessman in saving money, not necessarily in making. He's still running the business today, but anyway, different story. Point was that we grew and we had to hit 50 million in revenue in 2 years. The last quarter, I believe, of the last year, we did 80 million just in the quarter.
Wow.
So needless to say, we were capped on how much we were going to make. We could have made a lot more money if we didn't sell or would have sold later. But you know what? You can't, there's no regrets.
Hindsight's always 20/20.
Yeah, at the time, somebody gave us an opportunity to
you
put
didn't
money in the
have,
bank
you
that we
weren't
didn't have,
looking forward.
and no regrets, right? So
Could have gone either way, right?
yeah, we could have run out of cash. We could have not been trigger shy of hiring people. Like you never know,
yeah.
right? So that step put us on a trajectory, and yes, we became a big deal in the industry. And we, funny enough, Jeff got fired.
Did you guys hire him?
So my partner, in his wisdom, he said, "Listen, go reach out to him." I'm like, "Him? No." He like I had my ego, right? I'm like, I'm not.
Right. You were
He's
in
like,
your
"Look."
20s.
He's like, he knows everybody. He obviously knows the business. Let's cut him in for our earnout,
Oh, wow.
and let's give him 10% of what we're going to make on the IFCOM if he is in house and pushes it. And we did.
And it worked out.
Yes, we met,
amazing.
and I brought him in. He was blown away. That like he was here. He got off the train kept going, and he got back on the train in a different capacity.
So you got lucky too.
He got lucky too.
lucky.
Right? But listen, he wasn't.
But he inspired you getting into that business.
Correct.
That's amazing.
Correct. And then you know what? As you get so anyway, so we end up finishing that business. We all got our money, and the business continued. My partner stayed on for another year. He was running sales, so he made another $1 million in commissions because he was just running the sales team, overseeing them. I went to California, try to start a new company, and I was going to move
Silicon
there.
Valley?
No, LA. And we started building something, and my wife didn't want to move, and so I ended up kind of canceling that and coming back to Toronto, and started building another tech company, which I sold back to the same firm because they believed in me, and
Right.
and that second business is what they're running today. The whole affiliate network is
You were
gone.
their golden goose.
I don't know. I was, I guess, the visionary. They did what they did with it afterwards. But I started a real-time bidding platform,
Okay.
which was the next trend in online advertising.
RTB was huge in like 2010.
It's just a paradigm shift in how ads are sold,
Okay.
right? And they created exchanges, like Google Ad Exchange, and so on and so forth. So
I basically took the Google AdWords model and applied it to
banners.
To banners.
yeah.
That
And
display ads.
but you're bidding on the
Marketing,
impression,
targeting.
not on the click. So you bid on like fractions of a cent per click. Anyway, and you need algorithms, and like today it's different because now it's AI and big machine learning.
It was
and
like
so
the
on.
stock market of online advertising.
Correct.
Oh, wow.
Right? Because if you knew that, if you had a cookie that says, "Oh, this guy bought a book last week in this subject," and then you target him, but if it's somebody unrelated, you wouldn't buy that ad.
Yeah.
So you're not just buying blanket ads for the day, whatever happens, happens. It's targeted. So it's filled with fraud too, but regardless, I started that business, and I learned really quickly that even though I was into it for $1 million on my own,
That was EQ advertising.
yeah, it was way too big of a project for me to fund because I was going up against the behemoths.
Right.
And then again, I got lucky because they wanted a new business model because they saw the affiliate network was dying. Because all the salespeople that
to
left,
RTV.
all the salespeople left and started their own companies
Oh, wow.
because they didn't want to pay them commissions. They kept cutting them back, so they all left and started their own, and they became successful. So he wanted an RTB business. So I said, okay, I'll sell you this business. You fund it, you develop it. Didn't go as planned, but anyway, I got paid a certain amount of money. I moved on. I realized that there's another offshoot in advertising we started a company called Venlo, which was an email marketing company with specific newsletters and so on. Did that for a while, exited that one to an Israeli public company. That was a big one. And then, again, what do I do now? I was very burnt out of online advertising. And one of the things about online advertising is, like all businesses, they evolve. But email specifically evolves daily. Because what happens is, it is mass marketing and it is legal, but you're fighting spam filters, you're fighting audience segmentation, you're fighting top of the inbox. Like there's a lot of things that change all the time. And when it changes, you have no control over it. You have to reverse engineer it. And if you have servers and staff and so on, it's a cat and mouse game all the time. So when it's great, it's great.
And at the time, they started bringing in regulations as well.
So the regulations were never a problem because we were always compliant. So
when they changed the regulations, you also had to pivot.
You have to pivot, right? So you need, for example, double opt-in, which means every email address subscriber is more expensive, right? And then when you lose them, like they're gone. And then, so it became a difficult business. People still do very well with it. I just had a run that was, I just had enough.
You had enough.
Right. So wasn't sure what to do. Went through divorce, not because of the business, but just right at the sale of the last business, right afterwards was a divorce, which was like whoever's gone through it is the roller coaster. It changes everything. I had lots of kids and it was a battle, but we're okay now. We're civil, we're friends, we co-parent. And, but it was a major drag on resources and on time. And no matter what I was trying to do at that time, every business I started failed. Whether I was distracted, bad energy, whatever it was. And I had a good friend that I've known for 20 plus years, and he's always been lending, but not as a hobby, but as an opportunistic thing, not really as a business per se. He's in finance now. We used to run a telecom company, but someone would come to him, a broker or a friend, I need $1 million. He was, okay, these are my terms. And it was just private lending, like the traditional sense.
Mm-hmm. You're talking about Yuval.
Yuval, yes. So Yuval, was doing this, and he helped me a few times, and I came to him and I said, look, you're doing this, I've done some lending also, but not in a business, just opportunistically. I believe there's an opportunity to really kind of do something.
Disrupt the industry.
Yeah. So he says, well, I don't know, like what do you have in mind? I said, one of the business I started and failed on was small business loans, right? Because the government had a program. And what the program was that you can apply for a business loan and they would give you a loan for capital. So not for operating expenses. So if you're starting a restaurant, not for salaries or groceries or lights or rent, but they will give you the money to build out the furniture, the renovations, to buy the stoves and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of people. So a lot of people were consultants in the space, teaching people how to navigate the banks to get the money. They were writing a business plan for them and so on and so forth. One of the requirements was to have liquidity. So you qualify for a $350,000 loan that you only have to give back 25% if your business fails, because the rest is insured by the government, so the banks would give you the money. But you needed to show you had $150,000 of available money to be able to run the business. Because, okay, built you a nice restaurant, but you can't buy groceries. Like, it's going to fail. So people that needed the loans usually didn't have the liquidity. So I told this consultant, I said, hey, what about line of credit? They're like, well, if they had a line of credit, they wouldn't come to us. I said, but why don't we do a private line of credit? He said, there's no such thing.
Oh, wow.
And that's how it was born?
Yeah.
Wow.
So I said, well, what do you mean there's no such thing? Why not?
That's amazing.
And he says, I don't know, why not? So I started talking to people that I know in the space. And I said, well, why doesn't this exist? So I got a bit of a primer on this. And the idea was as follows. Private lending, as you probably know, started off where wealthy people or people with means had some money and they wanted to place it. So imagine you have some means and you have some money in your account and somebody says to you, I need $1 million at 10% interest, for example. And you say, okay, fine. You wire him $1 million and he gives you post-dated checks of $8,300, $8,333, whatever. And you have these checks and every month you deposit in there and you don't talk to the person. You don't have any contact with them unless something goes wrong, then your lawyer gets involved. But you know your money's working for a year, right? Imagine that person says, by the way, I just sold my car. Here's 100 grand back. And here's new post-dated checks. And you're like, okay, right? You take the new checks.
Yeah.
Now you have this 100 grand available, but you can't really do anything else with it because he might want it back tomorrow. So you have this vacancy of this cash that does nothing and you're making less. And all of a sudden he says, I need 20 grand. Now, Oh, okay, I get a wire or two, I got to check with my lawyer if it's okay, are we still secure? And nobody wants to bother because if the money's working, just leave me alone. Here it is for a year, and if you give it back to me early, I'm charging you a penalty because it's for a year. You owe me interest for a year. That's the typical private lender model, right? And I said, okay, but this is predicated on the fact that that's how it is. It doesn't have to be that way. If you have enough capital and your business is that only, then you should be able to weather the storm. You should do some forecasting. You should be able to handle it. And yes, you have, what's it called? Money that's sitting on the side. But depending on your situation, you can be structured that it's okay to have money sitting on the side, right? You can have a line of credit that you borrow from whenever somebody needs to draw. So that you don't have to actually have cash. You're going to just have access to cash.
It's all about building the infrastructure, a little ecosystem that works for you and your clients.
Right. So I told the Steve, I goes, I don't care, whatever. They didn't think about the money's going to be working. I said, yeah. He goes, because I gave Raj from Apono $20 million back then. And he couldn't deploy it. He gave it back to me. And I said, because you're not going to be able to put the money out. I said, I don't think we're going to have a problem. I said, everyone I've spoken to says this product doesn't exist and it's flexible and we're open and we can do multi-year terms because we're not a MIC. And I can explain why we're not a MIC, why that's relevant. But anyway, and
It gives you more flexibility, make
so
much more restrictive.
Yes and no. I don't know if anyone knows this, but a MICs are usually structured as two companies. Well, it could be more than two, but let's say two vehicles. One is the assets. So everybody who puts money into a MIC, let's say puts $1 into a MIC, they get one share. So it's got $10 million in this MIC between all the different investors. It's 10 million shares. Everybody has whatever they have, and they're all pari passu. And pari passu means that nobody has priority over anybody. It doesn't matter if you came in first or last, you're equal to the other guy that's in with you. And then there's a management company. So a MIC, typically what they do is they sell a mortgage, they charge a 2% fee. That fee gets stripped out to the management company, to the people running the MIC. And then the interest goes to the investors. Good year, they make more. Bad year, they make less. Take a loss on a property, it's called a floating NAV. Your actual return can fluctuate. So then you need a prospectus, you need to educate people on risk, and so on and so forth. So MICs follow something called IFRS 9, International Financial Reporting Standards 9. And what IFRS 9 states is that it doesn't matter that you got the cash today, like you charge a $20,000 lender fee. If your term is 5 years, you have to take 1/60th of that $20,000 into income. The rest can sit in your account, but it's not earned. If it's not earned, the management fee can't be spent. So MICs like 6-month terms, 1-year terms, because all the money that they collect is this year's money.
Correct.
Oh, it's very interesting. I didn't know that.
Right? So they don't like it. That's why the whole industry is about fast and quick turns. Now there's advantages. You make more money, but you're also restrictive. You're putting people on this trap where they're constantly having to renew and renew and renew. We don't have a MIC structure. There's Rafael and I are the only shareholders. And not that we can do whatever we want, but if we earn the money this month or we earn it next year, it's in the account. Like we'll get it when we get it, right? So we can offer 5-year terms, we can offer 3-year terms, we can offer a lot of flexibility. We also don't care if you pay us out tomorrow. You want to do it, take a 5-year term, pay us out in 3 weeks? Great.
No penalties.
No penalties.
Open HELOC.
It's fully open.
Product for that.
So fully open, longer terms, no cost to draw. You can draw 5 times a day if you want. We've had people logging in. I've seen it. Like they request $5. Okay, we send them $5.
For real?
For real. Wow. And it's not $5 less $17.50 wire fee. It's like $5.
But you know, like out of the other MICs that have, like, or other lenders that have the HELOC products, you guys have the best platform.
Well, listen, I don't know what anyone else has. Yeah, everything we built is in-house. Everything is proprietary. Everything's built around the product. It wasn't a bolt-on.
It's easy. Someone can log in.
Yeah. We have new enhancements coming, but we'll, instead of just talking about them when they come out, we'll launch them. Yeah, so we built a business around this, and when we hit $50 million of our own cash, we realized, okay, we have a business.
Got a business.
Right.
When you lent out $50 million.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. We had no partners, no banks, no nothing. Then we went and started looking for money. Not easy. Right. But again, depending on who you are, and I'm not saying that I'm anything special, but you just have to try. You have to apply yourself. And
you try and work hard towards that goal.
Right. And how I ended up finding the first partner was I went online and I'm on Instagram and I'm filling out mortgage leads on Instagram. Like I'm looking for a mortgage and as soon as you see one, 50 of them come. So I filled out a whole bunch of them. Anyone that said bank, I filled it out because that's what I was looking for. I think
You want a bank partner.
Yeah, I knew there was the big 6 banks, but there's so many people advertising as a bank. Maybe it's easier to get with them. So I filled out a bunch and I got a call from a guy from True North in Calgary or in Alberta. I'm not sure if they're in Calgary or not, but anyway. And it was a BDM, I guess, or a mortgage agent. And he was asking me, and I said, actually, I'm a lender. I said, but I'm looking to borrow. So if you're a bank, he goes, well, I don't know. And he started like, I'm putting you in touch with my CEO, Dan, right? So he put me in touch with the CEO and spoke with him for a good hour. He told me, he goes, listen, you need to talk to this gentleman at BMO. Okay. I called up the guy at BMO. And when I told him that we've been doing this for a year, his first response was like, sorry. He goes, listen, most of our clients are 5 years in the space and sorry, blah, blah, blah.
But none of them have the growth that you have.
Right. I said, well, what portfolio? He goes, well, you need to have about 50 million at least. I said, well, we have that already. He goes, what do you mean? I said, we have a portfolio of 50 million in less than a year. Okay, let's have a meeting.
He didn't believe you.
No.
He didn't believe you.
So we had a meeting. He did some homework on us and we had a meeting and he's like, okay. We negotiated terms and first they gave us 25 and then they gave us another 25 and now they gave us a little bit more. Yeah. And then EQ came on board and they gave us money. And then we learned very quickly that having a lot of different partners requires a more complicated structure. Not
I
everybody.
remember you were going through a lot of
Yeah.
moving parts.
Because
that you were looking
everybody
for.
wants that priority. Everybody wants to be bankruptcy remote. Everybody wants to have the ability to, these are my pool of assets. These are my pool of assets. If something ever blows up, we're secured. We're not fighting with the other banks of who's getting paid first and so on.
They also dictate certain terms that you have to
Correct.
oblige by when loaning out money.
But banks are pretty good, even though they're very conservative. They still want you to be successful.
Right.
Right? If somebody lends you 500 grand, they're your lender. When they lend you $50 million, they're your partner, right? They want you to comply, and there's reporting, and there's a lot of like hoops and so on, but they want you to be successful. So they have all these kind of like warning signs that they ask for the reporting, that as you start coming up like a watermark to a certain level, we have conversations. Right? What's going on? Do you need to change anything? And
It's now two-way street.
correct, because nobody at the bank wants you to fail. Nobody wants to have to report to their boss that we bet on this, it was great for a while, now it's bad.
Yeah.
So they help you navigate. And they have like lender conferences, you meet your competition and so on and so forth. And for many, many years, I kept my head down. Didn't talk to anyone, didn't want anyone to know who we were. We were just growing and growing and growing and didn't need to
You
go.
were focused.
Yeah.
You didn't need more.
I also didn't want to make any noise.
Yeah.
Like nobody's happy for you.
Yeah.
Right? Without like, so we continued to grow. Then I ended up having a bunch of meetings with pension groups, and we ended up securing one of them as a lender to us. And I remember trying to get money out of the U.S. And when we were at about $100 and something million, I would have calls. I had an investment banker, and I had calls with BlackRock and all these big groups. And I said, they're like, how much are you looking for? I said, $30 million. And they're like,
Too small for them.
very nice. And we would like this in theory, but if you're looking for 300, we can talk.
300 million. 30 million is way too small for the threshold.
Correct. So we
The
said,
U.S.
okay.
is a different beast.
Different beast. Different level of partner, different level of underwriting, different level of risk management, different level of capital, cost also. So we waited another year, and then we went back. And since then, we've secured 2 big partners, and we have a third one on the way. So
US. Good for
in the
you.
U.S., yeah. And I think we've done, I don't know, $1.7 billion of mortgages already in 5 years.
It's tremendous growth.
Yeah, and it's still growing. And we're launching Alberta in the next little
exciting.
while. Yeah.
We're licensed in Alberta.
And we are not.
Wait. Can't wait.
Yes. And one of the things that we have decided, when I say we're not, we've decided purposely not to be licensed as a broker. And the reason for that is, one, we love having you guys take all the compliance burden,
Yep. It's a lot.
right? We have our own compliance burden with FinTrack and AML and a whole bunch of stuff that has come down the pipe, and KYC and so on and so forth. So it's becoming harder to lend, even if we're not brokering. There's still work that we have to do. And I'm anticipating in the next year and a half, there's going to be some shakeouts in the space because a lot of people aren't doing what they're supposed to do, right? So there might be still...
Both on the lender side and the brokerage side. We're
think so.
seeing a lot of
I think so too.
non-compliance across the board.
We have a whole team, and they ask questions. And before I think, well, like, we're equity lenders, don't ask these things. Like, we're supposed to be easy to work with, right? But if we don't do this, then I'm going to be like this, right? And we don't want to get a fine, and we don't want to be non-compliant. So we'd rather have the extra pain today, but I have a feeling the pain is going to become standard in the industry very soon.
100%.
So
Just like us.
get ahead of it.
I hired a chief compliance officer. We're a relatively small boutique brokerage to have one, but I want to grow properly. It's not a fly-by-night company for me, as it's not for
Yeah,
you.
you know what? We're all about it. Singles consistently. There's no home run deals, right? Like,
That's it.
so as long as you keep having singles, listen, things get through the cracks. Sometimes we don't catch things until later, and we have to SDR the person and so on and so forth. But ultimately, we want to know who we're lending to. We want to know that we're going to get paid back. There's an exit strategy. And we want to make sure that we maintain our broker relationship. So we never got a broker license because we don't want the brokers to feel that they're losing the client to us.
It's like you might compete with them.
We don't renew without the broker. We don't communicate with the client unless it's just for day-to-day transactions they want to draw or they whatever. We get the broker involved.
Yeah, we get emails all the time for renewals. Rushi's is constantly renewing.
Yeah.
It's a great trickle of business that comes in afterwards.
Yeah, because we've chosen, as much as we can make a little bit more, we're also cannibalizing our relationships because we want to be a premier partner, not just a partner because you can't find where to place it. So, knock on wood, business is good. Of course, the market is challenging. Of course, we're having some. If you lend in this industry, like in the last few years, you have valuations that are coming off. But one of the things that's unique about us is that we have our own capital, and we have a lot of it, and we will renew pretty much anybody, even if the LTV is upside down. We do require new appraisals, we do require new applications, and so on and so forth. But we're not going to say, sorry, our investor doesn't want it, find a new home, or we're sending you to default. So the client's going to continue to pay, and if we can chip away some of that principal because their LTV is 85 or whatever it might be, we put them on a plan, we'll renew them, even if it's to our detriment because we can no longer use our leverage providers to borrow against it. But we'd rather have a family that stays in their home, pays us, and works through this lull in the market.
You'll work with them. It's not in your best interest.
We
You
don't want to
go
send
on-
people to default.
you
Like
don't wanna
that's not the
power
goal.
sell somebody.
But unfortunately,
happens.
It happens, and
Especially in this
there's
market.
people that play the system, and they know that they can delay enforcement, and they file defenses and so on. But it's a numbers game.
Where do you see the market at? I know it's a billion-dollar, trillion-dollar question, but
I have a lot of mixed feelings, and those feelings are
sure?
yeah. I'm very happy today. No, so mixed feelings about.
getting the couch for some therapy sessions.
So yeah. So I cannot say that the market is going to continue to go bad, or I shouldn't say it because where's the confidence in us as a business, right? Because our securities are equity. But even still, businesses in our space, unless they're run unethically, usually make money in hard times because people pay higher rates. There's fees. There's ways to recover, so you're okay. So from a business point of view, we're going to be great, and we're making profits, and we're going to continue to scale. So that's not the challenge. The challenge is where do valuations go? So I do believe that there's been some challenges because we got rid of foreign investors, right? We've built way too many condos. No, not too many condos. We built too many of the wrong condos. So investor-driven units that are between 300 and 500 square feet.
That no one buying wants to live in.
Correct. So they're investment vehicles. And investors dried up because rates went up. And they overbought on future value. So some people paid $1,500 a foot because it still doesn't sound like a big number, but it's $1,500 a foot when they're worth $7, $8, $9.
Yeah.
So there's a glut that has to kind of work through the market. So think of it like this. It wasn't just big investors that went and bought these units. It was families because of fear of missing out. So a lot of middle-class families felt that they need to do something to compete, right? And realtors would come to them and say, look, your cousin bought this unit. He only put down 10,000. It's already up 50. And by the time it's ready, we're going to flip it. We're going to sign it. You're going to make all this money. And not just major investors that had capital bought 10 units, but everyday families bought a unit or two.
Using their life savings.
Or they would borrow against their existing properties.
property.
Yeah.
Right?
Which is,
But they did.
good in good times, dangerous. Sometimes
Correct.
rough.
So what happened was they bought these things, they put down 100,000, 200,000, whatever the amount might be, and they overpaid. Because if you go back to 2007 and 2008, you went to buy a condo, and 1,000 square foot condo, and I remember doing this because I did it at the time. Great Gulf was selling a unit for 400,000 for 1,000 square feet, $400 a foot.
That's amazing.
Right? That was the price, pre-construction.
Yep.
The one next door that was already built, that was a fairly new building, was also $400 a foot. And me as an investor was like, why would I buy this and deal with a tenant and have to put up 400 grand now when I can buy this pre-construction unit and put down $20,000 and then in a little while put another 20,000 in a little while.
Slowly creep your way
But
to
the whole 4,000 goes up with the market. So if the building goes up 10%, I made 40 grand, but I only have 20 in. But here I have to put 400,000 in. So you get the growth of the entire asset value, but you're only putting down a small deposit.
Since then, builders got smart and
Builders
started
said, wait a minute, there's risk.
forecasting the value.
They're like, it's going to be worth 800,000 in the future. We're going to sell it to you today for 7.
Meanwhile, the one next door that's pre-built
400.
It's 400.
400, 500.
Right.
So they're capitalizing on future.
They wanted to get in on it,
for sure.
right? And they wanted to bake in some costs of construction increases and financing increases and delays.
It's great for the builders.
So buying pre-construction was amazing pre-2008. Amazing. Afterwards, realtors are just as guilty as greedy investors or opportunistic investors. And they said, you know what, everything keeps going up. So yes, it's more than the one next door, but you're only putting down a little bit of money. And it's going to be worth even more in 5 years. And they're going to get delayed, and don't worry, it's going to keep growing, and everyone bought into it. Greed, right? Fear of missing out.
Greed.
Well, problem is that people that bought these units had no intentions of closing, or a lot of them,
They
right?
wanted to flip them on a sign up.
Right. Now, okay, let's say they were going to close. They did the math, and it's a 1-bedroom unit, downtown Toronto with no parking, and they paid like $700,000 for it. And it's worth $450 today, right? And the rates are higher than when they anticipated. And the rents have come down because there's a glut of them. They don't make sense. So if they close, the banks won't give them an appraisal, the matches, so they have to come up with more money. They can't do it. So what happens is that everyone's upside down. And until they deliver the next 20, 30,000 of these units, there's a lot of uncertainty. Because imagine you as a middle-class family, have your home, you're working still, everything's okay, but you have this extra debt that you borrowed to close on this thing. And you don't know how you're going to close on it because your deposit's there and you're paying interest
There's
on
a
the deposit.
lot of that we're seeing. It's
lot.
actually, it's sad.
So, but think about that, the mentality of that family. Are they going to go invest right now?
Absolutely
They need to accept the loss, move on from it, recover from it, and then rebuild.
They're back to survival mode.
Correct. There's uncertainty, not just with tariffs and Kuzma and the economy and so on, but their own little bubble. They need to move past this failed investment. And there's so many of these families still to close, and they're not sure if they're going to be sued or not going to be sued and so on and so forth. So they're trigger shy from spending, from investing again. But you know what's crazy? Go 10 years from now, people have short-term memory.
Yeah.
It's going to happen again.
It's going to happen again.
Whereas now, if you have the capital, you know,
Today, if you have the capital,
it's a good time to invest. Rates
yes,
are
now
low,
but you need to be
prices are
selective.
low. 100%. You have to be smart about it. You can't get
So you
greedy.
notice these big funds have gathered billions of dollars to buy up these units and basically make them rentals. It's a horizontal rental building.
Those are private lenders that are doing that, right?
Not private lenders, more private equity firms.
Okay.
So they have a lot of capital, and they're like,
And the liberal government,
and the liberal government was
VC.
helping them. Yeah, which is great.
it's good.
But the point is that it needs to come through the market. So it's not yet like even if there's some exuberance in the market and people are starting to buy, and the spring market has been kind of better.
Yep.
I think it's a contagion effect. It's not just those condos are affected. I think it's the mentality of people has to get through. And then there's also the fear that Trump might not re-sign the free trade agreement. So we have a lot of uncertainty.
A lot
right?
of
So
things up in the air.
things are kind of like this. They're not collapsing, and they're not. People still need to live somewhere, and not everybody in Canada is going to be a tenant.
Sure. And immigration is still continuing, and there's talk about 2027, them reopening the foreign buyers.
Foreign buyers or increasing immigration. Well, listen, we as a country are a little schizophrenic in decision making. We decide, okay, let's have investors, or let's have, immigration. They open it wide, and it's a million a year. No, it's too much. They clamp it down to 0, and now we're having negative. So, I think there's a middle ground somewhere.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
We're just not there yet.
Good point.
But I'm a buyer.
How many years do you see this kind of like the bubble kind of going?
You mean the lull that we're having
Yeah, the
right
lull.
now?
Yeah.
I anticipate it for another couple of years.
Yeah.
That's fair to say.
I don't think we're going to have major price movement in the down direction. I think we've like a lot of the lumps have been taken in. A lot of prices have come down to 2017, 18 levels. So I think there's value there. I don't see rates moving up too much because it'll shock the system too much.
Yeah. I think there's opportunity. If you can,
Yeah.
you're not overextending yourself.
And you have
Now's
the
a good
ability
time.
to wait,
You have the ability to wait. Yep.
right? Because
Buying
like,
to own, not to flip. You're buying to, right now, like I said, over the last little bit, it's the first time in 5 years where if you invest wisely, you can be cash flow positive on the rental. At the very least, break even.
it's tough.
It's tough.
Like,
It's
you
still
have to be
tough.
smart about it. And if you're
You
a
have to
first-time
also-
home buyer,
You also have to be able to
good.
access cheap financing.
Yep.
So you need a good mortgage
Yep.
broker to do that for you,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Our product isn't for you. We're great for closing, but we're a short-term solution because our carry costs are too high for investors.
You're great for quite a few purposes. We'll get into that. I want to get into that.
Sure, but if you're
that
buying today in the market because you see undervalued property,
Yeah, if
you
you need
need
a
to be
private
able to-
mortgage to close, don't do it.
you can close if you know that your new mortgage is 3 months down the road
Right.
or whatever, because you don't want to miss the deal. But it's not a hold solution.
Yeah, that's not your end-all solution.
That we can be there, but it's not going to
not gonna
materialize
profit.
your investment is not going to be a good one.
Many people hear the words private mortgages and assume the worst. There's a stigma around it. Is that true?
I think if you go back long enough, yeah, probably, because why are you borrowing at these rates? Like, what's wrong, right? But we live in a regulatory created environment that you need to declare all your income, which I'm a big proponent of, right? At the same time, if you choose to be self-employed and your income is in your holdco and you choose not to dividend it out, but you borrow it from yourself and you only pay 12, 13% taxes, and on your personal taxes, you only show 60, 70,000, it's very difficult to get a bank mortgage. Bank mortgages, before B20, were given out like candies, right? And that mortgage is an asset. People don't really want to get rid of them if they have them. The bank will renew you over and over again at the best rates possible without requalifying you because you're a bank client. But if you need more money that's trapped in your home, like your equity, where else can you get it except for a private mortgage? Now, there's private and there's quasi-institutional private. So we have kind of prided ourselves from the beginning, even though, yes, we're private, that's the definition, we are as institutional grade private as you can get. So we act like a bank in a sense. We treat everybody exactly the same. We underwrite the same. We provide full disclosure. We don't have any hidden surprises. We communicate the same. We follow the laws that we need to give you enough notice if your term is maturing and so on and so forth. So we don't act like a private lender that might have a stigma, like a wealthy guy that just gave you some money and then you find out that, time went by, they auto-renewed you and you owe them $50,000 for something you didn't even know about. We are very, very much reputationally driven. We have agreements in place with our lenders that we have to behave a certain way. And to be able to scale, you need to run that way. You cannot have this like Wild West, for this guy will do one thing, for this guy will do something else, and be opportunistic and try to make fees. So we're really, really careful about having a structured experience and product and disclosure that is the same for everybody. So I think the stigma is there when it's traditional private, but I think it's becoming more mainstream. The industry is growing, and every year the amount of private alternative mortgages is increasing. So I think something that might have been a stigma in the past is less so today.
Now, there's times and places where private mortgages can be used as a very valuable tool to get an individual out of a current tough position and get them on the trajectory of improvement. And, as a brokerage, one of the reasons why I got into the mortgage space is suitability. Banks, brokers, I found we're not always putting people into mortgages that are suitable for their needs to put them in a better position. And similar to you, I'm a product of immigrants. My parents came here from the former Soviet Union in the late 70s and worked their butt off and have had challenges and have done really well at avoiding being trapped by unscrupulous individuals that are always trying to take advantage of them. And as such, that's a big sticking point for me. And lately, the regulators, FSRA, has been really coming down hard on brokerages, which is amazing, and on brokers for that suitability issue. One scenario where I find it very beneficial is when someone's racked up for whatever reason, whether there was a medical emergency in the family or someone became unemployed for reasons outside of their control, and they've had to rack up expensive debt. And by expensive debt, I mean credit card debt, where the APR can be 20, 30% or more. Payday debts, where the APR, I think, sometimes is even 30, 40, 50%.
Can be.
And they're spending a ton, right? Payday loans. So in that situation, to help someone get back on their feet, or they just started a new job, consolidate all that debt into one simple lower monthly payment, lower their annual percentage rate, lower their cash flow that's going out, helping them secure that cash flow in order to pay for what they need, and start putting money towards paying down that principal debt, or putting them in a position where in a year or two from now, they're now bankable again. They can refinance the full first and second mortgage.
Sure.
I find like something like that is a really great use. And there's many other use case scenarios. What are your thoughts on that?
So we do ask, part of our application process through the broker channel, purpose of funds. And in many cases, we see debt consolidation. And we have in the application what debts and the balances, and pay off and close, or ignore, right? We don't deal with the client directly. So we can't say, hey, they should pay this off or shouldn't pay this off, or so on and so forth. We can't provide financial advice. We do sometimes mandate that if it's a debt for, let's say, a credit card or whatever at a specific bank, that there's a collateral charge that is covered by that. We'll include it in the available credit that we're willing to extend just to protect ourselves. But listen, a HELOC is a very powerful tool, but in the right hands.
Sure.
Right? So yes, it's very easy to map out that you have all this 30% interest debt or 28% interest debt, then you take a loan from us for 3 years, and you take enough money to clear all that debt, and you're just paying a lower interest payment. It's not super cheap, but it's not expensive in comparison. It could be even a third of what you're paying.
Yeah, oftentimes it is.
And then it gives you a lower monthly payment. Your credit increases right away because you've paid off these reporting debts.
And now you're not over leveraged on credit cards.
Right, and your monthly burn is easier to maintain, right? And then if you're working with the right financial advisor, broker, you could then figure out a trajectory to actually refinance your entire mortgage to a even cheaper hold solution, right? The risk that happens is that people take us, clear all their dets, and then they rack it back
into
up, right? So, and we don't have the ability to police that. Now, we could start monitoring their credit and seeing that they're doing it and call that a material breach and call their loan and so on and so forth. But we're not in a position to, one, police our clients from a spending point of view. Secondly, we also don't want to trigger any kind of hardship on somebody by calling their loan because they're using their credit cards. It's just so it's a bit of a catch-22. It's a great tool used responsibly. Like, again, you can take our money and go invest. Now, if you went and put the money into, I don't know, the S&P 500 that made 15% and you're paying us, you're making money. But if you did it at the wrong time, you might not, right? So it really has to be, like all financial vehicles, have to be used with responsibly and with the right advice. And we are a solution. We do fill a need, but it can't be just a Band-Aid. It has to be a part of a plan to get back onto some sort of more affordability.
Yeah, the borrowers really have to work hard to execute that plan. It has to be realistic from the get-go. But they have to put in the work to make sure.
And we see both scenarios.
Yeah, for sure.
We see some borrowers that we bail them out.
And they're fantastic.
And then they're fantastic and they renew and they have less debt and they pay down their first and
They're way better off than they were when they first came.
And then we have some 6 months later, they're worse.
And they need more money.
They need more money, which we don't want to give them, and then now we're challenged.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of borrowers that don't use the line of credit. Like you would think that everybody's racked up. We have people that keep a zero balance.
Yeah. And they only pay interest
when they
on
use
the funds withdrawn.
Yeah, we don't charge a standby fee.
Yeah.
So one of the things we thought about earlier on, because we get charged, right, is 0.5% or 1% for unused funds. So you take $1 million from us, you're only using 800. 800 will be at the rate, and 200 will be at 0.5%.
I'm very thankful you've never done that.
We decided not to do that.
Good.
It gives us a unique advantage.
Because there are companies that do that.
A lot of companies, yeah.
Sure. Listen, it's a business model choice, right? And we've chosen not to do that. And as a result, we have typical, like a client I've seen who has a $2 million line with us. Every once in a while, he logs in, he needs 700 grand. No questions asked. It's been approved. He makes whatever payments because it calculates interest daily. And first of the month, it's interest only. We send him statements. And then all of a sudden, he wires back 500. And back and forth and back and forth. He's a trader. He sees opportunities. He doesn't want to keep it there and pay us the juice.
So he'll make the margin that he uses it as a tool to make himself wealthier.
We have people that use us to lifestyle events. Like, okay, there's like a wedding coming up or whatever. They have it available. I've even seen people apply for a loan and not draw the closing costs. They actually wire the fees to the lawyer and just keep a zero balance
Listen,
for when they need it.
that's responsible planning.
Yeah. And we have at any moment like $80 million that somebody could draw. That's available credit. Like someone could just log in and say, I need 80, 90. It changes daily.
That's great.
So that's another reason why people don't love offering this solution, because you need to have another $100 million that you're not charging interest on and you're potentially paying investors on.
Yeah.
Right? So there's definitely a use for the product if used correctly.
Yeah, and we find we've had a lot of great experiences working with Extend Financial. Our customers have. Again, we place a lot of emphasis on suitability and making sure that when we put someone in a private mortgage, there is a viable exit strategy. And to the best of our knowledge, the borrower, the client is on board with actually executing that strategy. It doesn't always happen. We can't control what people do or what life circumstances arise. But there's creative ways of making it work. We had a recent customer. He's a high-ranking executive for many years. The downturn of the market created some job loss for him. He acquired some debt. He was finding it hard to maintain monthly payments with his current mortgage. And we came to you and to your team, and we did a 2-year open line of credit, HELOC, so that they can use funds as needed. And whenever they get a new job as a high-paying executive, they pass a probation period. They're now bankable. We would take him to the bank, and it worked out really well. Very, very thankful. He's referred many clients to us since. So, thank you for
Yeah,
having
no,
that
listen,
kind of product.
that's our typical client. If somebody needs, like we focus on the second market.
Yeah.
We're very happy to lend behind B20 lenders, and we prefer giving a second mortgage than a big first.
Yeah, but you do
we
some
do.
good big first.
No, listen, we have $10 million mortgages also, right?
Yeah, you do.
People come to us and ask, and we do it if it's the right fit. But our sweet spot is a top up to your equity, from your equity on your home, for lifestyle needs, for investment needs, for whatever needs. But people that own their home, that live there, that have pride of ownership, they take care of it. We are a floating variable product that they can pay down and have available when they need. Somebody's a commission salesperson, they can flatten out their lumpy income by drawing what they need, and then big check comes in, put it right back. We don't charge if you pay us back. Interest is all of a sudden reduced, and it's available again.
Yeah, you'll do up to 5-year terms, which is great. Also very unique in the private lending space.
Yeah, so where do you think the mortgage industry will be headed in 5 years from now?
I think that there's going to be some consolidation in the space. I think the MIC model is not going to survive, or it's not going to be the most economic optimized structure.
Okay, interesting.
And as a result of that, it's very compliance heavy from an investor point of view. There's a lot of institutions out there that like what we do. And I think there's going to be some consolidation. I think that people that made a lot of money easily are still stuck in that world and think that it's going to stay easy. And I think the regulators are going to make it more difficult for people to do it properly. Yeah. And the more you disclose, the harder it is to operate, right? And we're going towards more disclosure, more oversight, more compliance. And the people that did it freely and made a lot of money and just kind of, I think they're going to fall off because it's just going to be too hard, or there's going to be some fines. And even the little guys that have $10 million that like lending out, they're going to read in the paper that, oh my God, this guy got fined for lending. What's wrong with it? There's going to be some changes. I think that the bigger players will survive. I think there's going to be much bigger. I think there's only a few billion-dollar plus
Yep.
alternative lenders
Yeah.
in the space. I think there's going to be bigger ones. Our goal is to get substantially bigger than we are now. And I think there's going to be a handful of really big guys, and the little guys will get consolidated. That's where I think it's going.
So you think there's not going to be too many private investor, like private individual lenders remaining?
I think it's going to be harder to do because of the requirements.
Okay.
Look, a lot of the people that I know that are private lenders don't do anything for FinTrack at all, because they figure like, what? It's my money. I'm just lending. What's the big deal? Until some client loses their house, and because he didn't pay and you didn't do anything wrong, but you didn't follow the steps, and then it gets to someone's desk, and then an investigation happens because they want to make an example, and all of a sudden the private investor gets fined $100,000, and that hits the newspapers.
That's life-changing for a lot of people.
It's life-changing, yes, but it's also a warning shot for everyone who's doing it that
100%.
didn't.
100%.
And they're like, what did he do wrong? Well, he didn't ask the right questions. He didn't report suspicious activity, blah, blah, blah. So I think that there's going to be more of that. And I think it's going to change the appetite.
And not everyone is set up to stomach FinTrack requirements. There's a lot of requirements. As a brokerage, we had to revamp a lot of our processes.
We've slowed down our process. We used to have this rush program that if you reached us in the morning, we could close that day.
You can't really do that.
There's
You
too much
have
to do.
Take the right steps.
Yeah.
It's good because I think it's better for the financial long-term stability of the country.
Yeah, and for the borrower's health and so on. And it also eliminates potential fraud. It also eliminates
Terrorist financing, all the stuff
Yeah.
that's bad for Canada,
Yeah.
bad for Canadians. Temporarily, I think the same will happen in the brokering space. We're going to weed out a lot of brokerages over the next few years that either don't want to get on board with compliance, can't afford to get on board with compliance because it is a costly venture. As a small boutique brokerage, we feel that pinch, but it's necessary for us to get to the level where we want to be.
And I think that the insurance obligations, the disclosure obligations, and the oversight obligations, right? It's not just having a policy, but is your policy effective?
Are you following it?
Right. And are you evolving with your policy and so on and so forth?
Exactly.
They will come down and they will find faults. And all of a sudden, a few of these sightings will make people that are running brokerages because they have a brokerage for the last 10 years pause. And maybe I'm not going to take on this bad apple in the industry, even if he does big volume, because it's going to bite me in the ass.
Well, we've already seen consolidation in the brokering space. Mortgage brokerages are consolidating to combine efforts and resources for compliance purposes. Some of it's working out, some of it isn't. So, it's an interesting development in the landscape. It definitely is. So, I want to segue back into the mind of a brilliant entrepreneur. If you think back,
Where?
he's joining us soon.
Okay.
Sit tight. But right now, we'll focus on you. If you think back, what piece of advice that you've received over the course of your life or career has shaped and really changed the way you look at conducting business?
Okay. In a nutshell, the concept of win-win. So there's win-lose people out there. They could be powerful, they could be self-centered, and you need them because they provide opportunity, whatever. But they don't want you to win. Like, they want to win, or they always win, but they don't really want you to win. I truly believe that to be successful in something, you need to have a win-win mentality. And someone told me one time that no matter how smart you are, or how opportunistic you are, or whatever you might see, someone has to open the door for you. So you only get as big as somebody else lets you, right? No matter who you are, someone has to open that door, whether it's give you that line of credit or give you the opportunity or believe in you or take a risk or whatever.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can be ambitious and you can not take no for an answer and so on and so forth, but someone still needs to do that for you. So that's an energy. That's karma. That's whatever. And I do believe that if you treat people well and you let them make money, don't try to kind of shave off everything for yourself, then people want to work with you. And then things happen, right? Because it's not just because I'm the smartest or my team's the best or whatever. It's a combination of everything. And I think you need to let the people that you work with also be successful.
That's a great piece of advice. You know what? I see it in your team. whenever I deal with any member of your team, I've dealt with a lot of different members, whether it's just talking conversation or working on a challenge through a deal, they have your back. They almost idolize you. It's like you built a little cult at Extend Financial. They're loyal. They care about your business. They care about the customers. They care about the brokers that they deal with.
They take ownership.
They do. That's
A
what it
little
is.
too much sometimes, because they're like, Raf, we shouldn't do this deal because blah, 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 blah. But they're being over protectionistic. But that's okay.
And they mean well.
They mean well.
I truly feel like they have your and the company's best interest because you have theirs.
Yes.
It's a great way to operate.
Listen, there's some new changes coming with AI.
Of course.
Right? And a lot of the people that work for us start worrying. What does that mean? Like, we've grown to a team of like 40 plus people.
Wow.
And they're all worried, okay, are we going to be out of a job when you launch the AI underwriter or whatever? And I've had several calls saying no, because no matter how great the tool is going to be, it's just a tool that is going to pre-chew the information for you with some recommendations, but you're the one who has to actually provide the final decision. And it will allow you to just do more as opposed to replace you altogether.
Allow them to be more effective.
Correct. And instead of doing 5 deals a day, do 10 or whatever, because we want to grow and we don't want to necessarily hire more, but it doesn't mean we're going to lose the staff we have. So there's that consensus that we mean what we say, that we're not firing people, even though the world is all you hear in the media is that the job losses due to efficiency.
And in many industries, that's the case. But in ours, the people factor is huge.
Especially alternative
People
lending.
like to work with, sorry.
No, especially alternative lending. People like to work with other people.
People like to work with people they like.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you like somebody, you'll call them.
Yep.
Money's money. And yeah, we have a unique product and it's a little bit better than others and so on and so forth. You can make an argument why that lender's better for the client and put them over there. But if you like the people you work with, you like the service you get, and you like the way you're treated, you'll come back.
Yeah.
So I really believe that people like to work with people they like. And if you foster that environment, then it'll come through in the team and in the results.
It's always going to be, in my opinion, a people business.
We've decided not to go direct to consumer. One of the things I didn't mention early on in the chronology of my career was that I thought to myself, I have this ability to do online advertising. During our what's it called, Cyberflex CX Digital days, we did like 10,000 mortgage leads a day for the U.S. call centers before everything collapsed, right? Because they were massive campaigns. And because they had these massive like ping trees, like all these leads would go into one, and then a buyer would buy, I want Utah leads, I want this lead, and they would resell them. It was a massive business. And I thought to myself, I could do this in Toronto, right? So when we started, I got enough business from the broker channel. I just kind of took away my competitive advantage, because I'm no longer bringing this massive advantage of online advertising, and I'll drive all the leads because the relationships are valuable, and there's enough business through the relationship channel that we don't need to go and compete with the brokers. So we chose not to, and I kind of like, oh, I guess I'm not going to bring that to the table, so I have to bring something else.
That's a whole other beast. I mean, your superpower seems to be your focus and ability to relate and lead people.
That's one. I really think that being able to, like, I look at it like Lego, right? Like technology, people, money, market, tools, you put them all together in the right way, you have a product. And that's what we have, right? So in every business that I've had, I've never created a new something. I've always looked at the opportunity, the pieces, and put them together in a certain way to have an advantage. So
that's the magic formula.
Yeah, and formula changes depending on what you do. And there isn't only one way to do it. So
you've dealt a lot with Extend Financial and your clients. You've helped a lot of clients get to that next stage in life with Extend as a tool. Tell us about some of your experiences.
Yeah, I mean, again, Extend is great for a short-term solution. You have a client that has, let's say, a bad credit score, they have high utilization. It's a great tool to get a consolidated debt, lower the monthly payment, and then also build their credit score. So then a year from now, you can refinance, and you'll get 2 deals out of it, and you'll help everyone involved.
And that's the whole point, right? It's that exit strategy. It's taking it to the next step.
Yeah, it's always supposed to be a short-term kind of bridge between what you have and what you need to get to.
Yeah. If you could give one piece of advice to someone trying to build their career or business today, what would it be?
Be flexible. Invest in yourself. Read self-help books on just growth and improvement, and just keep growing and learning as a person. But when I say be flexible, apply what you've learned and what you've experienced and the obstacles that you have. Like, figure out solutions to morph. Don't just assume that your path is one way and just keep going and banging your head against the wall until you get there, because that's not being persistent, and doing the same thing over and over again doesn't mean you're going to be successful. So if you see that a certain way is giving you headway or problems and so on, think about why. Think of a way around, or think of an opportunity to get around it. Be flexible in terms of product. Be flexible in terms of approach. Be flexible in pricing. Be flexible in whatever. Just don't assume what your first vision was right and just go with it till the end, because you're most likely wrong. And you have to be able to maneuver. And I'll give you a quick story. When I first started CX Digital, it wasn't that business model. Mm-hmm. It was a completely different business model. And I had to pivot. So we started a company called IncentiClick. Yeah. I don't know if you remember that from a long time ago.
Right.
And IncentiClick was almost like a loyalty program for online shopping. Okay. So we had, for example, that I was telling you about Netflix that paid $75 per lead. We had Netflix as an option. We had Blockbuster back then that had a program, and all the other ones like Publisher Clearinghouse and all the insurance leads and mortgage leads and whatever else was campaigns. And it said there, if you sign up to Netflix, we'll give you back, I don't know, 20 cents, 30 cents or whatever, or $20 or whatever. So we incentivized the behavior. Right. And I thought this was the home run, because I'm like, what's in it for me?
Right. Everyone wants to be incentivized to do something.
Right. And that was my claim to fame. We built this system to be able to create traffic. And I called the business IncentiClick.
It's a great name for what it is.
It turned out it was completely wrong, because incentivized traffic had a negative stigma in the industry. And I didn't know that. Because think about it. If somebody signs up to a mortgage lead, are they doing it because they're getting the $20? Right. Or they're doing it because they really need a mortgage? Yeah. Right. So it turns out incentivized traffic didn't have the same lifetime value, didn't have the same. I didn't know that. I thought I cured cancer. Right. I thought this is amazing. So I was going down a path and I had to completely pivot because it was wrong. Right? So you have to be able to read the signs. You have to be able to figure out you have the right idea but the wrong execution or whatever, and pivot. Because you never know, or no one's going to give you the roadmap and this is what you need to do.
And as we've seen lately, even in our market, even if you're doing everything right and you're growing, something happens in the economy, something happens in regulations, and you're forced to pivot. Those that don't pivot don't survive.
That's true.
So flexibility, it's a really, really great piece of advice, Rafael. Thank you.
I want to get into your motivation. What gets you excited for coming into work every morning?
So motivation today versus when I first started are very different. When I first started, I had motivation of paying bills, I had motivation of
feeding your kids,
and kind of reestablishing my life post-divorce and so on and so forth. Today, my motivation is different. So the business is established. We do quite well. We make great money. We employ a lot of people. So I have motivation to make sure that the people that work for us have jobs. I also like the fact that we're solving problems in the industry and we're continuing to grow. We also make commitments to our partners that gave us a lot of capital. So there's a lot of trust and a lot of obligations for us to kind of keep delivering on what we said we're going to do for them. And so that there's that like as a motivation. Obviously, as the business grows, there's more personal compensation, right? But I do believe that we still have a lot of things to do, right? So as you grow in a company, you start either vertically integrating or you start replacing tools and becoming more efficient. And whether it's expanding into new markets, cheaper cost of capital, new tools that we want to deploy, there's a lot of pieces of the Lego that I'd like to replace with other pieces. And for me, it's a game, it's a challenge, right? I want to optimize as best as possible, right? Whether we make our product a little bit different or a little bit better, or offer a new feature, or spin off something else. That there's a constant challenge that you want to kind of achieve. And I'm not even sure what it's going to be yet, but we have a few things on the roadmap that we're working towards. And as time goes by, things come up. And that keeps you motivated to kind of get better and better and better. And obviously money's a way to keep score. So the business grows, the assets under management grow, and the profits grow, and so on and so forth. But that allows us the flexibility to not just do it for money, to do it for being better.
So it's a constant strive for improvement. It's
Yeah.
It's the thrill of the game.
I think that's life, to be honest with you. Because if you're not constantly trying to improve, like I can't imagine being retired. I can't imagine
you retire.
I
You'll go crazy.
Yeah, I need something to solve. I need something to do. If this business was running on autopilot and making a ton of money, and there was just
You'd have to do something else.
100%. I'd be out. I'd sell it.
I get that.
I need something to kind of tweak and to keep improving and to keep growing, because if not, then I lose interest.
Yeah. So, on a personal level, I admire you as a friend. I admire you as a business leader, and a few years ago when we first met, what was it, 5-6 years ago, we both looked very different physically.
Yes.
And since then, we both started training. I've, even worked with your personal trainer with weightlifting and even your stretch therapy trainer. How do you relate the physical well-being to your success in life, business, and everything else?
It's funny. They actually do go hand in hand, because during COVID, a lot of us stayed at home. Right? Unless they were in Miami. But if you're here, you stayed at home. And we started the business October 2020, right in the heart of COVID. So I was sitting at my desk 10 hours a day, not getting up. And it takes its toll on you, right? It takes its toll on your back. It takes its toll on your posture. And I found that energy levels were down, and business was growing because we were in the right industry and we were like right timing and so on and so forth. But you need to balance it out, and you need to make sure that you have the right energy levels, whether it's cardio working out or physical weightlifting. You need to work on your body, especially when you get to a certain age. I'm 50 years old. You need to be active. If not, you're a very sedentary lifestyle or sedentary lifestyle. And I find that you just wither away. You're just not as efficient. Who wants to eat something and then as soon as you finish eating, you're like you run out of juice, you have no energy, you don't have motivation.
You don't feel motivated.
Yeah, so you have to balance out your achievements in work with your achievements for your body, because as time goes by, it's harder to stay in shape. It's harder to stay focused and to stay motivated. But if we don't do it, who's going to do it for us? You can't buy a new body. Right? You can try to fix your body, but it'll never be the same. And I really believe that nobody has enough time. But if you make the time, then it'll happen. And it's not something that happens overnight. So I had
a long time.
A couple of years into the business, I got to the point where I was walking like hunched over because my back was hurting. I had issues, and like typical males, I would work out upper body. I hate doing legs. Like leg day for me was a curse. I hated it, right? So I would avoid it. And trainers are like, okay, we'll do something else. You're still paying me, so what's the difference, right? But
sounds about right.
But it got to a point where I was in a lot of pain, and I tried everything from stem cell treatments to chiropractors to stretching to apps to whatever. And only when I started actually training legs and training core and glutes and
full body, right?
Yeah, then things started to correct. And now I don't think I can do without. Right? Because if I go a few days of not, I start to feel like it starts kind of contract.
It pulls on your back. It pulls unevenly.
Yeah, and listen, we're all office people, even though you're out meeting clients and so on and so forth, or brokers in my case, or bankers, you still do a lot of sitting.
Whether it's driving in the car, sitting for a lunch meeting,
So you need to maintain your body, because ultimately that's your tool to be able to perform at a high level.
And you even started marathon riding.
It's
a whole other level.
Yeah, I switched trainers, and with my luck, they put in my path. I wasn't looking for it. Someone says you need to meet this guy. He just came from, he's new to the country and he's a trainer. And it turns out he wasn't really a trainer. He was a marathon runner. So he's like, have you run? I said, no, my back was in so much pain that if a dog was coming at me, I would just take me. Because I couldn't run away. Everything hurt. So we started to jog and then run, and we did a half marathon recently. And
you're running away from dogs daily.
Yeah. So anything's possible, right? So
anything is possible.
I think setting new challenges for yourself, whether it's physical or or business goals or relationship goals, they're important, right? And I think not having goals is where everything goes. Even if you have all the money in the world, if you have no goals and you have no purpose,
What's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
What's the point? Okay, let's enter a fun rapid fire round. I'm going to ask you some questions. First thing that pops to mind. I'm going to pull out my notes here.
No.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
First job?
Busboy.
Which restaurant?
Red Panzer's Deli.
Wow,
Yeah.
I remember that.
I was like 13. I don't know if I was legal enough to work, but
No. Best business book?
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People.
I love that one. Yeah, you learn a lot from it. And it's still relevant today. It was written back in the 30s or 40s.
Yeah.
Best personal development book?
Personal development book. Atomic Habits.
Okay, very good. Favorite podcast other than this one now?
Diary of a CEO.
Okay, very good one. Biggest business mistake?
Oh, wow.
I don't know if we could do a rapid version of this.
Biggest business mistake. So nothing's a mistake in hindsight. Like, you know,
Right.
like it's hard to decide because if I wouldn't have sold the other business,
You would have gone to where you are now. Yeah.
right? So I maybe that would have been a big home run instead. But I don't know if it's a mistake. I don't think there are mistakes.
That's fair. Biggest career win?
This one so far.
Oh,
Extend.
Great. And it's just getting started. Morning person or night owl?
Morning person.
I knew that one. One business leader you'd love to have dinner with?
Is it cliche to say Elon Musk?
No. Yeah, it's valid. I think there's a lineup of people like that.
Sure.
One thing people misunderstand most about private lending?
That it has to be confrontational.
Okay.
It's not, right? The problem is that with the way the industry is structured, there's a lender, there's a compliance team, there's a broker, there's the borrower, and there's sometimes communication gaps, right? It turns out to be. So a lot of people think there's a big bad lender out there and they're just punitive and they're going to penalize me and so on and so forth. But ultimately, we just run a clean business. So we try to be as transparent as possible, but there's a gap sometimes because we don't speak to the client. Even though everything's in our 200 pages that we send you to read, people don't, or they don't fully go through everything. So there's this misconception that lenders are bad and they don't care about their borrowers.
And that's not true. Again, especially if the brokers do their job right and match clients with the appropriate mortgage for the appropriate reasons.
And we also, I think I mentioned earlier that, you know, when someone lends you 500,000, they're your lender, but when someone gives you 50 million,
They're your partner.
they're your partner. Well, for us, we're everyone's partner in their house. We're not just their lender because we don't want them to go sideways.
Right.
So we want to work with them, even if it's only one loan out of 2,000.
Yeah.
We still want that one to be okay.
Yeah. And I see that. I see that in the way you operate. What's one mortgage myth you'd like to eliminate forever? You're smirking. I want to hear this one.
Just close and I'll get you out in a month.
Yes, that is definitely a mortgage myth. That never happens. So people say it all the time.
Listen, it does happen. We've just this week, we had a loan for $1.4 million discharged that closed last month.
Wow, already discharged.
Discharged this month. And I was like,
that's rare.
it's rare.
Beyond rare.
So whoever
It's a unicorn.
Whoever
mortgage.
put them into our product did it for a solution.
Yeah.
And they actually executed on it.
like a bridge loan or something like that. Yeah.
Right? But the biggest mortgage myth is that, you know, they say what's temporary is permanent. And there's nothing more permanent than temporary.
We'll put it in temporary. Yeah.
Right? So the idea is that we are a temporary solution, but don't look at us as a temporary solution. We're a manageable solution because you don't have to pay us interest. You can keep it empty.
True.
Right? So it's not to run away from us. If you use it the right way, we're a great solution. Never discharge. But if you need to carry, if someone tells you that, don't worry, I'll get you out tomorrow, there has to be a plan, and we're not part of that plan. So
A feasible plan too. A reasonable plan given the person's individual circumstances and abilities.
And this is where the mortgage broker's skill set and knowledge really plays, right? There's a lot of people that just care about closing. And the challenge is that they know what to say because hope is a very dangerous thing, selling hope, right? So don't worry, I know we'll get you into this. Yes, you're paying fees, but it's flexible. You can always blah, 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 blah. But we have a plan to take you here. Well, that plan has to be viable. right? And hopefully they execute and they didn't sell them a bag of goods. But I think it's a myth that you close and you're out in a day. You have a year to get out, or 6 months, or 2 years, whatever. But it's not so fast. It can be because there's no friction for us to let you go. But it's not going to happen on a dime.
Fair.
No.
Last question. I didn't prepare this one, but what's your favorite thing about working with Clover agents?
You know what? I find the submissions are really well written.
Okay.
And I'll give you
That's good.
the two polar opposites.
We spend a lot of time training agents on how to properly package.
So you have something called Trainial?
training,
yeah.
Trainial,
online training guide.
right? And the idea is that when you want someone to read your application and to invest their time, you've got their attention for a minute, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it is, to give it credence to lend, give them what they want to make the decision. Give them what they'll need to make a decision.
Make it simple for them, so you
Right.
have to decipher and fish
Right.
through things.
So provide the standard fields that are in your platforms, because we have APIs and everything gets submitted a certain way. But then the write-up is critical. Whether you're going to use Claude, whether you're going to write it yourself, doesn't matter. But just provide the information in a concise, exact way. This is what I'm doing with the client. This is why we chose you. This is what we need. This won't work if you can't do it. These are our expectations. This is how we're going to exit the client. This is his income. We're not asking for proof, but we need to know what you've determined their income to be. And this is what you're looking for. And send it to us with whatever material you have, whether you have a draft appraisal, purview, statements. The more, the better. I find I used to do all the deals myself. I still review everything when it gets pre-chewed by all the underwriters and comes to me, and I go through, and I'm sure I have a bunch to do before I get back in the car. But it's funny, Massimo told me, he goes, before you leave, just clear your tasks.
Yeah, well, you can stay here all day.
I hope it doesn't take that long. But
We'll cater food.
thank you. But specifically, I've gotten, in the past, people would call me, hey, I have this client, can you do 8.5%? And I would ask questions, and I would pull out the information. Where's the house? What's their credit? And so on.
Like pulling teeth.
And you know what? Because it was just me, or me and two people, and so on. And now we got to a point where when someone sends me a text, they send me what do you think? I write back, it's a PDF. That's what I think. I said, what do you mean, what do I think? I said, would you land on
what?
What are you asking about? What do you think of the property? I said, I'm not moving there. Well, what do you
want? What are you looking for?
And I'm trying to
Give it
make
to me straight.
I'm trying to listen, you want to be successful in what you do, right? You've chosen this as a profession. You can make a lot of money, but give enough
Take an extra 20 minutes to send
in
the
yourself,
proper
in
info.
developing a track record that when something comes from you, you should give it some weight.
100%.
And if you just provide piecemeal, or I have to ask you for stuff, it gets deprioritized.
Yeah, because it's a waste of time generally.
And
It's a really good point.
And we're going to get to a point where, in the beginning, you're hungry, you look at everything meticulously. Now we're going to eventually get to a point where we have AI files that come in incomplete, they go to the bottom of the list. And if new complete files come in, they'll get prioritized, and that list might just stay there. And then someone will call, and then we'll fix it, resubmit it. And there's a kind of a training that has to happen with brokers if they want to get their business funded. So I find Clover does a really great job of providing the story, this is what I know about the client, this is what I know about the situation, this is what they're looking for, yes, yes, no, no. But at least we don't have to go digging for things. So whatever you're doing it right.
Thank you. That means a lot because we really focus on that. I really appreciate you coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
This was amazing.
Yep.
And
Thank you.
Thank you, Rishi.
guys, some closing thoughts. I'm going to summarize a little bit of what Raf said and also provide some advice to three people. Aspiring business people, entrepreneurs, be flexible. Get ready to pivot. Your first idea might not be your last, might not be the one that succeeds, likely won't be. For mortgage agents, take the extra time, whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, to put the file together properly. If you're not sure how to do that, reach out. We'll help you figure it out. We'll help put that process in place for you. But that goes a long way to getting a faster approval, less murky conditions. It just helps you help your clients better. And to borrowers, what I always tell you, what our agents always tell you, tell us everything. Don't hide information. Because if you think you're going to slip something through a lender, it won't happen. 100% of the time, the lender will find out last minute, or at the worst case scenario, last minute. Usually it'll come across earlier, but if it's last minute, the day before closing, your deal will die on the table. And then you're going to be in a much worse situation. Tell your mortgage broker, find a mortgage broker that you really trust, tell them everything. They will be able to then take all the information, the good, the bad, the hair on the deal, and figure out which lender will actually do it for the best rate and terms that work for you, both in the short term and the long run. And as an agent, don't hide things from lenders. It will ruin your deals. And I do see this sometimes from novice agents where we get clients coming to us. They had a mortgage in place and at the last minute it fell apart from another broker. Sometimes the clients will tell us that there was information that came up last minute, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes borrowers don't know certain things about their financial situation that's sitting in the background that does come up. But if you do know it, be upfront with us. We're on your side. We're here to help you find the best solution. We really are. We're not your enemy. We're your teammate. So the more you tell us, the easier it'll be for us to help you. And that wraps up episode 2 of Mortgages Uncensored. Rushi, thank you. Rafael, thank you. This was a lot of fun. Make sure to follow us on social media. Subscribe to us on YouTube to get more podcasts in the future. Subscribe to us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn. The information will be at the end of the video. Thanks for tuning in and see you next month.